Hi there, it's Rachel here. Today I have a card tutorial using the Darkroom Door Season's Greetings rubber stamp set and the Snowflake background stamp with Ranger's Tinsel Embossing Powders. Just like the name implies, these embossing powders have an added glitter in them, which gives them an added sparkle when they're embossed. So the first one I'm using here is the red tinsel embossing powder with the Merry Christmas sentiment from the stamp set. I've swiped an anti-static pad over the cardstock I'll be stamping onto, and this helps avoid any little extra pieces of embossing powder sticking to the cardstock. I've then inked up the stamp using the Distress embossing ink and stamped onto smooth matte white card. Then I've poured the embossing powder over the stamped area while the ink is still wet. And I've tapped off the back of the cardstock a few times just to get rid of any extra bits of powder. I'm just using a small brush just to remove any extra bits of powder and then heat the powder with a heat tool. So here's a look at what the red looks like when it's finished. I'm now using the Season's Greetings sentiment, and this time I'm using the gold tinsel embossing powder. You can see how it melts when I use the heat tool over it to create a beautiful gold shine. And there's lots of different sentiments in this stamp set, and you can mix and match different sentiments with different colours of embossing powders or ink pads depending on what your project needs. Next I'm using some of the smaller words to create some gift tags. This time I'm using the green tinsel embossing powder. And you could also use small tags for the front of cards or use these smaller words with other Darkroom Door Christmas stamps such as the Christmas trees or the stitched Christmas or Christmas reindeer sets. They're just to name a few. Now of course you don't always need to use embossing powder. Here's a few tags where I've just stamped the words using different colours of archival inks, and it's a great way to make very quick and easy tags. So I'm just using the olive ink pad and the vermilion archival ink just for these two tags, and just changing up the different words and just using the cheer and the jolly and the peace words onto some different size tags. So next I want to show how nice the Season's Greetings sentiments look when combined with the background stamp. And I'm using the Snowflake background, but you could use any other background such as the Christmas script background or the star background. They make really nice Christmas backgrounds too. So I've covered the Snowflake background stamp with Distress embossing ink and stamped it onto a piece of smooth matte white cardstock. This time I'm embossing with the Snowflake Tinsel Embossing Powder. This powder is primarily white with a silver glitter through it, so it gives the image a really nice shimmery effect. And since it's called Snowflake Tinsel, then I just had to try it with this Snowflake background stamp. So once it's embossed, I'm spraying over the top with Broken China Distress Spray Stain, which will resist the embossed image. I'm also adding a couple of light sprays of brushed pewter Distress Spray Stain, and just to deepen the colour around the edges, I'm then sponging Broken China Distress ink around the edges of the stamped background. Then I'm adding some foam adhesive to the back and mounting it onto a white folded card. For the sentiment, I'm embossing this one with silver embossing powder. I wanted a straight colour with no glitter, but one that would go with the silver fleck in the Snowflake Tinsel embossing powder that's on the background. The silver embossing powder still gives a nice shine and gives the sentiment a raised, bumpy look to it. To add the sentiment to the card, I'm tearing down both sides and then folding up the edges a bit just to add a little bit of dimension. Then I'm just adding some double-sided adhesive and mounting it to the front of the card. Here's a quick close-up look so you can see the embossed areas and the spray stain resist. So this stamp set, along with the inks and embossing powders, are now available from the Darkroom Door website, or ask for them at your local craft retailer. You can find a list of stockists on the Darkroom Door website. Thanks for watching.